maybe we can have the board members who are here introduce themselves, and after that we'll have the staff, Onika and Jazz, talk through some of the history around farm school. Kelly?
Hi everybody, I'm Kelly, and I'm a former student at Farm School as well as one of the facilitators of the advanced facilitation course, and currently on the board.
Momo?
Hey, sorry, I was about to jump right in there. Hey everyone, my name is Momo, also known as Esmeralda Herrera, and I'm a recent alum. I was actually the COVID cohort, but I just graduated last year in December.
Congratulations. Hey, Ruby. Can you come up and introduce yourself?
Yes. Hey, everyone. I apologize in advance. I'm not in a space where I can unmute and unvideo. So my apologies for that, but I still wanted to be here to support and to be available for any questions that folks might have. My name is Ruby. I think I've been many things at Farm School. An admirer from afar, a student, and then a teacher, and now a board member, and really excited that there are new people here with visionary ideas. I think I know some of you to share, so I'm kind of really excited. I have yet to graduate, which is which is the silliest thing. But I've yet to graduate, but Farm School is so forgiving. So thanks, y'all.
Thank you, everyone. Our intention of having this meeting is we wanted to give folks the opportunity to meet us as board members, to hear about what our experiences were about being on the board, and also to address any questions that folks may have, especially if folks haven't been board members before. We wanted to give you this opportunity to get to know some of us and to get to know some of the work we're doing. I'd like to invite Onika to share some history and context about Farm School. And there you go.
I'd be happy to. My heart is so full. Oh my God, to be able to see some people's faces I haven't seen in so long is such a joy. Hi, Lucretia. I said hi to most of the other ex-students already, but it's so beautiful to see you here. So beautiful to see people whom I don't know here, and excited about your interest in maybe serving on our board. So I'll share a bit about the background of Farm School NYC. I feel like we should just have collective storytelling, because so many of you have parts of the story in your own heads and hearts. But Farm School was first thought of as this collective idea by a group of farmers and advocates and activists here in New York City, most of whom were identified as BIPOC, most of whom were female-bodied folks, a lot of whom were really, really tired of our communities, particularly low-income communities in New York City, being defined by all the things that they lacked. They saw the power and the energy, the knowledge in so many of our communities, and they wanted to build upon that. One of the many ideas that they came up with was this idea of creating a school that was founded on popular education methodology, where we're really looking to everyone who's coming into the space as an expert, and we're creating a space for them to share their ideas together. And so Farm School was initially thought of in that way. Volunteers came together and developed the curriculum, wrote a business plan. All of this was done with people just giving of their own hearts and their own spirits. They collectively raised some money, some seed capital to start up the school, and then they successfully received a grant initially from the USDA, and that kicked off our first actual class, our first actual cohort. And in the years since, we have grown and shrunk and grown again, and we have a range of programming now, and six other 7 other staff people that are part of Farm School, including myself and Jazz, who I think I'm going to kick it over to. Did I more or less do what I need to do to? Okay, awesome. So I'm going to pass it over to Jazz.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jazz. I welcome all pronouns, and I'm currently the communications manager at Farm School. And so far, as I've been working with the board, I'll come to some meetings, support with communications. So if you came here from Instagram, thank you. And just try and see what are ways that the board can continue to support our work. And as you'll hear in the future, our board is a community board. And so that means that, like, yes, a lot of these people you'll know. And it's been wonderful working with like newer board members because we're figuring out processes together. And so it's just been a really wonderfully collaborative process. And for me, learning about how boards can look and support me as a staff person has been great. And if you want any more context on how we interact with board members, I'm here till the end.
Great. Thank you, Nika. Thank you, Jazz. And now we're going to talk a little bit about the whole selection process. Jazz, if you can share this. Oh, are we sharing screens? No. Ignore that. 2 years ago was the first time that Farm School embarked on a different board selection process from what they had doing in the past. As Anika mentioned, this was a collective effort from a various group of folks who were invested in supporting the community. But in 2021, in spring, the spring of 2021 was the first time they suggested a community selection board process. Sorry, give me 1 second. I just need to pull that up. There we go. All right. So in 2021, we started a new board structure, and Farm School co-created that with input from students, alumni, faculty, staff, board, as well as partners. And in 2021, the Farm School New York City community of students, alumni, faculty elected a new board that comprised of 6 board members. 2 were past or current students nominated and confirmed by their peers. And those board members were Genesis and Momo. And two were past or current faculty members nominated and confirmed by their peers. And that was Kelly and Ruby. And 2 were community members nominated and confirmed by past and current students, faculty, and close community partners. And that's Hans and me. 4 of us still are on the board. Unfortunately, 2 of our members are no longer on the board. And so we are excited to have more people join us, more people collaborating, work with us, and help continue to support Farm School and to continue to help them thrive. In terms of, sorry, let me just make sure that's me. Yeah, in terms of board responsibilities, what you can expect to be doing. These are board responsibilities designated for every nonprofit by law. So you have our board members have a duty of care. Each board member has a legal responsibility to participate actively in making decisions on behalf of the organization and exercise his or her best judgment. The board members have a duty of loyalty. Each board member must put the interests of the organization before their personal and professional interests when acting on behalf of the organization in a decision-making capacity. The organization needs come first. And the board members also have a duty of obedience. Board members bear the legal responsibility for ensuring the organization complies with applicable federal, state, and local laws and adheres to its mission. And every couple of years, we sign documents that reiterate that commitment we're making to Farm School. But we also do this in the various activities during our meetings. And I will pass on to Kelly, who will share about board terms.
Hi, everybody. We're going to share a slideshow with you shortly where you can, which you can look at your leisure, and we'll have all the information that we're currently sharing. The board terms are that board members do serve for 2 years and determine their length and recommit at the end of the 2 years if that is, appropriate for the board. The terms are staggered so that we hopefully will have membership turning over, some membership turning over every 2 years and some staying on. The term limit is 3 consecutive years terms, after which members must leave the board for a period of 4 years. In terms of time commitments, we have a bi-monthly board meeting. It lasts about 3 hours. They are in September, November, January, and March. We have the orientation coming up this August, and there's an annual full-day retreat, as well as times when our board meetings are open to the community. And I'm going to pass it on to other board members to share a little bit about what it's been like to be on the board.
Actually, Kelly, we'll first pass it to Jazz.
Oh, sorry, Jess.
It's okay.
Yeah, I also wanted to notice that there were a lot of people sharing their experience in the chat. And I know that I said some of the ways that the board has already supported Farm School, and I wanted to also share the supports that were needed. If you have taken a look at the nomination form, you'll see they're listed. There's like a list of things that we'd love for board members to be able to contribute this year. And I wanted to make sure that we didn't lose that in the process. And so something that we're really looking for as an ideal gift would be some legal HR expertise, definitely some fundraising and nonprofit individual giving experience, accounting, curriculum development, transformative justice facilitation, and other facilitation skills. Farm School is currently in a pretty interesting transition period, and so experience with collective decision making and other processes would really help us at this time, like from a staff perspective. And so the board bylaws, as you heard, are like things that all board members must do, and these are things that we'd love for them to also contribute. Now I'll pass it back to the board.
Thank you. And if you're wondering, who can be nominated, number one, hopefully you all who are joining us. But in terms of the board makeup, we are hoping to have at least one past or current student, and this person will be nominated and confirmed by their peers. We're hoping to also have one past or current faculty member nominated and confirmed by their peers, and at least one community stakeholder nominated and confirmed by our current and past students, faculty, and key partners. These include folks who are part of the apprenticeship, those folks who offer their sites as locations for classes, as well as project partners. And I guess every board, every organization has to have a minimum of 3 board members. I think we're looking at a maximum of about 12, but we're open and flexible depending on what our nominations and our voting structure looks like. And I will pass on to Ruby. And Momo, we would love to hear some of your experience around being a board member, what that's been like, what are some of the things you're learning, maybe some challenges that folks can be aware of as they're signing on or trying to commit or nominate other folks for this.
Yeah, I can jump in. So I saw somebody, Cynthia wrote in the chat that said that Farm School is one of the best decisions that they ever made. I think for me it was too. Before I started Farm School, I knew I just wanted to get really involved in just being able to grow my own food. And I was really new to that space. I didn't have really a lot of the opportunity to be involved. And so I just learned so much and have so much love for Farm School and everyone I've met, my peers. Because I was COVID cohort, I was a part of 2 different cohorts and 2 different structure styles of Farm School and how it evolved. And every step of it was just so helpful. And so I think when wanting to join the board, which I was self-nominated. So for those out there who are a little nervous of like, do I need to be nominated by someone? No, it's okay. If you feel passionate about the mission that, Farm School has, and like you feel like you can contribute and want to contribute, I would just encourage you. I also, my first time joining a board, and so I think it was a learning experience. And so again, I just share for folks who feel like, okay, well, I'm not sure if I have those experiences. You have those experiences. And so if you feel like it's something up your alley, great. I think one of the challenges is that as a board member, sometimes you are going through some of you have to sit through budget, you that's just what legally we have to do. So even though there may be some times where you're like, oh, I want to, be more involved in this way, that way, you definitely can, but there always will be these processes of like, okay, we got to sit down, y'all, we got to review the budget, we got to okay the budget, we got to sign these things. And like, that's part of it. And it's a good learning experience. So overall, I just really hope to see many of you, if you feel like it's a good fit and it's something you really want to involve yourself in, and it's just being a huge cheerleader, honestly. With that, I'll pass it over to you, Ruby.
Hey everyone, again, apologies. I'm gonna be a bit brief. I can say that if you believe in the movement for food justice, if you believe in the movement for justice for all, actually, just anything justice, reproductive justice, food justice, all the justices, right? If you believe in that and you're passionate about that, I feel Farm School in all my travels is the space where your voice can be heard and it matters and action can be taken. So I think that you don't necessarily have to, it's great if you come with a lot of skills, if you have skills, legal skills, if you have fundraising skills. However, I think like the biggest thing that Farm School needs continuously are folks who are dedicated, committed, and passionate towards food justice. And part of food justice is raising up farmers of color, raising up farmers that are thinking differently about this world and rejecting the norms that have been put on us. Sorry, did I cut out?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, my apologies. If you've got that fire in you to create change, I feel like the board is a great place for you to be. And like Momo said, you're not going to be sort of launching your heart projects. There are like technical things that need to be taken care of, like fundraising, looking at our budgets. However, there is also space for you to bring that that passion, that fire, to create a world that is safer, is healthier, and just allows us, right, as a community to exist. So if you've got that, for sure, please apply and create change. So I'm going to get cut off again. So that's it. I hope that I was understood and clear. All right, peace,
You
y'all.
are. Thank you, Ruby. Appreciate that. Great. I think at this point I'll invite questions, and I see some questions from Rosa in the chat. Former student, are self-nominations allowed? I think Momo responded to that. Yes, you can nominate yourself. You can nominate other folks. Jazz will if you can throw the nomination link in the chat, we'll also share that at the end with next steps. And I think this might, Anika, you might be able to answer this. Can you talk about fundraising responsibilities?
Yes. So we have never done what I think is sometimes common on boards, which is ask our board members to do a give or get. What they talk about, like you have to either give a certain amount of money or get a certain amount of money. We've never done that even before this process, and we don't have an intention to do that now. Our hope is that you will find comfort and grow into the role, and we'll certainly be asking y'all to step up in ways. Jazz has tons of ideas around individual giving and activating your Instagram and all those things. You know, we'll offer some tools to support you in doing that. And we're open all the time to any introductions, you know, any ideas that you have around fundraising, really open to that, but want to be clear that our intention is not that we want you to be a professional fundraiser on our behalf. We want you to show up as a community member, as a committed full person with all of the skills that you have, and hope that we can to help guide you and grow with you as a fundraiser. But there's no expectation that you need to give an amount of money or ask everybody you know for money on our behalf.
Great. Thank you, Nika. Appreciate that. As part of the board selection process, we'll have you fill out a nomination form, we'll encourage, you know, but also you will have to upload a video that folks who are voting will watch so they can learn a little bit about who you are, why being on this board is important to you, and what you're going to be bringing. And I'd love to have Momo talk a little bit about the video recording process.
So it was very nerve-wracking, y'all. Look, I was nervous. I was like, oh man, I gotta put this video out there. I done nominated myself to do this, right? But honestly, if you, it just goes, it reminds me what Ruby was saying. Like, if you are aligning, right, with the interests that you have, the passions that you have, your core values, and they align well with Farm School, then what you're saying is going to really resonate with others. Really show off like that passion. So that's what I did in the video. I didn't try to align like, oh, this is what they're looking for. No, I like this is the things that really interest me. These are the things I really believe about in Farm School, and this is how I want to contribute to this community as a board member. And those are the 3 things that I really highlighted. And I don't know, I had fingers crossed, and you know, there was a community vote, and I was really thankful that the community felt I could be a part of the board. I want to open it up to other board members if they want to talk about their process in terms of videos.
Yeah, I can share. I have a hard time listening to my voice, and so I just recorded it once or twice, and then I was like, I'm done. Don't overthink it. It's 3 minutes. Like Wilma was saying, you know, just be yourself. Share why you want to be on the board. Why Farm School is important. I think what you believe about food justice. Yeah, you also have the ability to stop and pause and start again. So hopefully that gives you comfort knowing that there isn't like it's not live, so you can control it as much as you want. You can have someone else record you if that makes you less nervous. You can also reach out to us. We can definitely schedule a Zoom meeting and record if that's something that you need support with. I'm gonna also invite other folks. If you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat or come off mute and ask us. Any concerns or questions or things that we might not have covered?
I will just share briefly. We are ready to share the slideshow. Apologies for the delay. Thanks everybody. It will reiterate the things that we talked about, and you can take a look at it at your leisure.
Thank you, Kelly.
they're coming.
Great. I can give us a minute to think and share some next steps for folks in the meantime. So for folks who have watched, for folks who have attended, the intro, this is the first step. Our nomination form, Jazz already shared that. That's available. The link is accessible and available, so you can self-nominate, you can nominate other folks, and it's on the nomination form. But just as a reminder, Farm School encourages nomination by consent, so please don't nominate someone without letting them know that you're nominating them. Get their consent before filling out that form, and the deadline for the nomination will be May 26th. If you know someone who you want to nominate but they haven't been able to attend, we will have a recording of this session uploaded to the nomination form, and they can watch it there. And after folks have filled out a nomination form, Jazz will reach out to them and ask for a short video and responses, and that deadline will be June 16th. And some of the things that you'll be filling out in that video and responses, you'll be telling us about yourself in one sentence, how you feel that you would support Farm School's mission, vision, and values, what skills you feel like you could bring to the Farm School board, what is your definition of systemic racism, and what you have done to dismantle it. Please give examples. And also, if you have a LinkedIn bio, you can include that as well. And we've also included a sample of a write-up that previous board members have submitted, so you guys can have that as a reference. And once that process is done, we'll share a page on the Farm School website, so folks who are able to vote, staff members, students, and close community members, will be able to access the videos, access the written sample that you're sharing as well. And voting will close on July 2nd. And the last step will be waiting for the board to contact you with election results. We'll take a week or so on our end to count out the results, and we'll share the results with those who have been successful and get their final consent and confirmation that they want to be on the board. And once that's done, we'll publicly announce on July 17th. And I think there was a question here. Can you talk about the board's role, what the board's role will be in the recruitment and onboarding process for the new ED? Good question. Hi, do you want to?
Hi, Onika.
Use your Onika, do you want to talk about that?
Yes, of course, we want to talk about that. So some of y'all who read our newsletter will have heard the announcement that I will be stepping down as ED of Farm School at the end of May after 8 years. And I'll be taking on a different role at a different nonprofit in June. I will be hanging around as long and as much as the board and remaining staff at Farm School will have me around to be a resource. And what we have, we've asked the board's leave to present to them a proposal around a co-directorship model on staff. We've been talking about it for some time. At Farm School, we really feel excited about, I will personalize this. I think everyone else is excited too, but I am very excited about the staff who are going to be stepping into more leadership. And so we have a board meeting coming up on Monday. I hope everybody remembers we have a board meeting on Monday. We'll be walking through parts of staff's kind of ideas and proposal around that. And we usually work on consensus with the board and staff. So hoping that, the board will be giving us input. There will be some additional hires. We have a vacancy right now at Farm School. We're thinking about an additional hire, not as an ED, but another staff position that will work into this more flat structure. So all of that are things that we're working very closely with the board on deciding. And the board will definitely need to vote on it and have that part of the record before we release that plan into the rest of the community. So that's what we've been talking about as a internal collaboration with the board first, coming from a staff proposal, and then the board will vote on it. But the plan now, as long as the board still thinks it's a good idea and we talk about it, is actually not to hire an ED, but to look at more a co-directorship model at Farm School. So a lot more on that soon, Lucretia, of course. And also, like, I'm happy to talk with folks, you know, anytime about how that process is going if folks have questions outside of the board process itself.
Okay, great. I have another question. It's a clarifying question. Tutu, when you were reading earlier, you said that I want to make sure that I caught it right. Something like put the needs of the board ahead of the personal and professional. Can you repeat that sentence again?
Yes, I can. I think it's the duty of loyalty. So each board member must put the interests of the organization before their personal and professional interests when acting on behalf of the organization in a decision-making capacity. The organization's needs come first. So Farm School's needs come first before our own needs and our professional needs.
Okay. I'm confused. I'm confused by what that means, because so often our professional needs are very much connected to our financial needs, our like personal financial needs. So I'm confused about I'm a little unclear about
Right.
the sentence.
My understanding, and at least the way we've implemented it, is that we're not in this for ourselves, and
Mhm.
we're always thinking of Farm School as top of mind. So that's essentially what it's saying. Like, we're thinking of Farm School before we think of, what's a good example? Let's say if, you know, a budget decision, for example,
Mhm.
if Farm School decides to make a budget decision and it's good for Farm School as an organization,
Mhm.
but it's not my preference,
Okay.
that needs to take a back seat, because what we're
Okay.
here, yeah, so who we're here for is Farm School.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sure, thanks for
Thank
asking. There was a question about the first board meeting in August. Would that be hybrid? We actually, as a board, are itching to meet each other in person. So I think we might try and make that be in person so we can meet each other, you know, have some connection. Still TBD on the structure for the upcoming board meetings, but currently those are all virtual. I think the first board meeting we might, I see Kelly smiling, but I think we might want to put that in person so we can get to meet each other. I actually don't know if I've met folks in person. I think we've known each other for 2 years by a screen. It would be nice to put faces to the folks that we see every month. And Chris, I see your hand raised. I welcome you to ask your question.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I have a couple of questions, but the first one, you talked about like voting for the budget and so on. So what is the voting process like? How do you make decisions? That's my first question. And the second question is, it sounds like, you know, I think at the top I heard Jazz mention like drafting policy together. So what are you currently working on? Like what policies, or yeah, what's on your plate right now?
Great questions. So this is great. I'm trying to remember the wording that we used around. So one of the first board meetings I remember was a conversation around just like team agreements and how we're going to be interacting and working with another, sort of like rules of engagement. I think those gave us some direction on how we would be interacting, how we would be voting. So I believe that as a board, where it's not just majority that wins and that's it. I think when we're making decisions, we're always listening to what each other's thoughts are, and we're always trying to see if we can come to a consensus as a group. And in the event that we aren't, we try to make sure that the folks who are in a minority group in terms of decision making, we're still engaging and answering questions and making sure that we understand where the disagreement could be. So I think we said to ourselves, I think Momo, you're the one who said it, that we're okay without, like, it's okay not to have closure, but we definitely strive for consensus. I think that was the wording we used. Someone remind me. That's what I remember us talking through.
Yeah, no, and to something I want to add. I don't remember the exact wording, so maybe it'll come up. But Chris, I think that's a really great question. I think why it's so critical to have those, the alumni or current student or a partner and then a teacher or facilitator, because when we're discussing all of the decisions, those perspectives are important to have, because as a board member, the bylaws that Tutu was reading out loud before, we at the first and foremost are putting, the needs and the mission of a farm school and those that, the mission that it has. So overall, we've been able to kind of really dive deep into each topic and discuss thoroughly, and all voices are heard in different mediums. We'll talk about it, over a board meeting. If it needs to have communicated over email, that happens as well. If we need to have a one-on-one with Onika or the ED or any particular staff, that has also been something that has been offered. So I just wanted to share things that have happened.
Yeah, I can't think of a decision we've made where anyone has left feeling like they weren't heard, or that, their idea or their thought wasn't taken into consideration. I think we, and Onika actually helped lead up a lot of this conversation around agreements and how we would be making decisions and what would be most important to us when it comes down to like areas of disagreement. Kelly, did you have something to add to that?
Actually, I wanted to say that one of the things that we're looking for, one of the skills that we're looking for on the board is somebody who has experience in this kind of thing, collective decision making, and more of a understanding of the way less hierarchical governing works. So that is something that we're really excited about entering into, and the staff seems pretty clear on the direction they're hoping to move in, right? So we know we're going to be gaining more clarity as time goes on, but also hoping to get that from the board. And then yes, there was another question after that, I think
some of the policies that we were working on, I know in the past we've worked on there was a financial reimbursement process I think we worked on.
I'm happy to talk about that, because
Yeah.
often they spring from things that staff bring to the board for their input and approval. So yes, I mean, it ranges from everything from things that we just need to support our work. If we're like applying for a government grant, we might need to have particular policies in place. So there was like a purchasing policy that we had to put together as part of a grant, and it's something that we ran by the board and made sure we got their eyes. And I think it was purchasing. But upcoming, I think, to Kelly's point, I really think that this transition to a more flat structure for farm school will be a big lift for the board, and a lot of areas where we'll actually have to rethink the policies that we currently have in place to support that model and to make it clear from everyone's standpoints, faculty, students, our funders, who the point people are and how and why they're interacting, and supporting structures for decision making, both internal to the staff and also on the board. So those are areas where I think the board is really going to be leaning in the next year or so. And I am also hopeful that we bring our board more into the journey around fundraising, again, as an invitation, as a skill building opportunity, not as like an onerous task where y'all feel like, we're just making you raise our budget, but more how we're building up a skill as a community. Hope that's helpful.
Yeah, thank you, Anika. Yeah, I guess I just wanted to know, like, what is on your plates right now? Like, that's the question. Yeah, what are y'all working on right now? Just to get an idea.
Good question. I think budget. Oh no, we've already done budget. Budget season is not coming up, but I feel like I remember you talking about budgets, Anika. But also just the ED process, and also this process is on our plate right now. Just making sure we can help steward that. And so last year, a lot of this work fell to staff, and this year we want to try and support the staff as much as possible, and limit the extra hours that they're spending. So we've been doing a lot of that and offering additional support and offering to lead the info session, and just making sure that this process is as seamless as possible. I think, Lucretia, you have your hand up again. Go ahead.
Oh,
Thanks,
Chris, did
Chris.
you? Oh, okay. All right.
Oh yeah, Chris, was that? Sorry, I didn't check in. Apologies. Was that good?
No, yeah, thank you.
Great.
Appreciate
Thanks for that question. We appreciate it. All right, Lucretia.
Oh, I have a question, but because I spoke just now, I want to leave space for if there's another person who hasn't asked an initial question.
It's fine. We also have time right after you're done, so folks can ask when you're finished with yours.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So having worked at different nonprofit organizations, I'm curious about if there are any challenges that are like if there are any challenges that are any challenges that either the board or the organization is facing that board members will be asked to what's the phrase I'm looking for, dig into. Like, this is a knife and fork, but like every organization has its ebb and its flows, and they're comprised of people. And so I was just curious about if there are any challenges or obstacles that you wanted to make us aware of as we're coming on board, just so we can think about and I'm saying we, but I'm also going to say capacity, skills that we have that we want to contribute as Farm School is navigating these challenges. And I can rephrase if that's helpful.
Peace, that was good. Can I just jump in and say, I know that other folks will have answers for that question. It was beautifully stated. Time commitment. You're not fully aware of the amount of time that you have to commit to this until you're in it. And and Tutu's like, hey, we have a meeting for 2 hours on Monday, and you're like, I have a report to get done, but this is important. So just being mindful that being on this board is important, and you have to commit a certain amount of your time to it for it to be successful. I think others might have stuff to add.
I got ideas. I think again, this shift in structure is going to be an important shift. It's something we haven't done before. I know it's been done before. I think that we are in community with some organizations that have models like this that staff are going to be reaching out to and talking to. But I think that there's going to be some support that's going to be necessary there. Fundraising is always an area where support is needed. And just to be frank, Jazz has been incredibly supportive with individual giving fundraising, and I've been doing the majority of the grant writing for the organization. So that is going to be a gap when I leave that we are working to fill. So we're looking at a couple of different ways to do that now. A combination of hiring on staff, hire a consultant, thinking about some different options, right? But there will be a fair amount of like, transitioning and onboarding that throughout this year. And thinking about that and the budget is important. We have a number of like ongoing multi-year government contracts that the staff is managing. So just being supportive of them in that process, I think is going to be pretty critical. Next year, Farm School will have to do an audit for the first time ever. We've always been doing financial, like fiscal year reviews. I don't know if Momo knows the difference between these two things because Momo is our treasurer right now. But a financial review, it's a little less lighter lift, right? An audit is like serious lift. And so, thinking about that in the fall and winter of next year, it feels like we're really going to want some folks supporting Momo, and Claudia, who's the person on staff, will be like doing that lift with our accountant. So those are some things I'm thinking that are coming down the pike. We've got some like super exciting program things that like I feel like I want to announce but can't announce. So we just talked about not announcing. I don't know, but there are exciting programming things to dig into as well. So I do think there's a little bit of something for everyone, but I would say some of those things I mentioned are like for everybody. Like we need the board to be focused on those areas in order to be successful through this transition and into the next year. Jazz, did you want to bring up any other things?
I think you got the main ones of fundraising and onboarding and guiding through this process. And we also put in the nomination form that like there are skills that we're not thinking of that you'll bring to the table. So if you're not hearing anything that resonates with you, that's okay. Maybe there's something that you can really still help out with that'll transform Farm School in a different way.
Thanks, Jen.
And then,
Go ahead, Luke.
are you receiving, do you have city contracts right now?
No city contracts.
No.
Not yet.
I'll got some ideas, like we're ready for it, but
I mean, okay, it's a personal thing, so I'll ask offline.
Okay, yeah, none. The contracts that I mentioned are state. We have state and federal contracts currently,
Okay.
but nothing city. We don't get any city funding currently.
Okay.
Or ever.
Great. Chris asked, is there a position description for the board members with responsibilities, etc.? It's a good question. I think, is it on the website? So everyone is voted in as, as just board members. And then in terms of specific board responsibilities, there's a chairperson, a secretary, and it's within the slides. Thanks. There's a chairperson, a secretary, and a treasurer, and those positions are nominated by the board. So once the board is formed, they'll nominate and vote for those three positions. We're not tied to just one. I'm the current chairperson of the board. Momo is our treasurer and Kelly is our secretary. We're not tied to only one person holding those positions. I think we're a very collaborative board. We're open to people. This whole space, Farm School, the board is very collaborative. Actually, one of my favorite things about being a board member in Farm School is that I get to see the staff. I get to interact with them very often. Which is not something I do at my own organization. I rarely see the board members, so it's a very different way of sort of running board governance, and I truly appreciate that. And in the same way that as a board, it's not really about power dynamics. It's not about who's in charge. We mostly have these responsibilities because by law we're required to. And also it's helpful to know who's going to, be responsible for specific things. Yeah, I don't believe we have a job description. I thought I saw it on the website, but I might be wrong. But as far as I, as far as I know, the chairperson sort of is responsible for gathering people together, sending out reminders about meetings, will often lead the meeting as well. But sometimes we also rotate through leading meetings so other board members can lead. And the secretary is responsible for taking our minutes, sharing that with the rest of the group. And I believe in terms of I know that every year we send some commitment forms as board members, and the chairperson has a specific part of the form that they need to sign. The treasurer helps with the audit, and also I think Momo, you sign actually, instead of me describing what people are doing, I'm going to describe what I've done and then pass on to Kelly and Momo to share what they've done. So I've been helping with leading board meetings, checking in with Onika and finding out about the floor of the meeting, what we need to focus on. And if Onika gives us either a policy or an activity or something to work on, I sort of take the helm and get the board members together and help sort of like facilitate work around that specific task or the specific activity. So essentially helping the board member work go ahead while the folks at Farm School continue to do what they do really well. And I'll pass on to Momo to share about what she did as a treasurer, and Kelly to share what some of the work she did as a secretary.
Yeah, Tutu, she does a lot. So we're really thankful for her. So as treasurer, really I'm supporting, signing a few of those documents that Onika was talking about earlier. And honestly, for my own organization, we just did our audit 2 years ago, and it's a huge lift. It really does require lots of different components, and it sometimes is a major difference and an opening for additional funding. So it will be like a great opportunity. But I don't know, I don't do much. Let's look at the budget and support and question it, and make sure. And those questions are challenging but good, because it's about making sure that Farm School and its mission remains alive and well. And then I'll toss it over to you, Kelly. But the thing there is that, yes, I am physically adding my signature to some of those documents.
I also want to disagree with Momo, saying that she doesn't do much. She's our budget queen, asking all the heavy questions. Momo, you offer a lot of perspective, so thank you for doing that. And to you, Kelly.
Sure. I, as secretary, recently have been making sure that all the notes are, captured, and that they're organized in a way that is not sure what the word is, like easy to get back to. So kind of categorizing and highlighting, and additionally making sure that we're signed up for the roles that we need to be signed up for in like this current process, and just kind of like contacting Tutu to make sure that I can do whatever I can to support.
Thank you. And as a board, I think we're very supportive of each other's roles. So people will often step in to offer support if folks need additional help. So even if any folks are worried about being on the board for the first time and worried about being chairperson, definitely want to encourage you to sign up to nominate yourself to be chairperson. You don't need to know everything. The board members who've been there for a while will be happy to support you. Yeah. Hopefully,
Yeah.
Chris, that was helpful.
Yeah. Can I just add
Go ahead,
something
Ruby.
to the role, to the title-less position, which I hold, which is, I think, a sexy position too. You don't have to have a title on the board. You can be like, a board member that just contributes their know-how, their skill, their wisdom to the process. And one thing that I've noticed is everyone on this board has sort of fallen into what is natural for them. Like Tutu is a natural leader, whether she like owns it or not. It's just, it was just so natural for her to lead us. And you can see, right, by her style of facilitating the session, it's so warm, it's so loving. And she's got amazing leadership qualities. So it just felt right. And Momo's all about the money, like from jump. So it just felt right for her to be there. And I wouldn't overthink it. I say, if you come on board, and this is me, right? This is me. This is what I do. You know, like I'm more enter into the spiritual side of things. Don't overthink it, because that's intellectual, that's reasoning, and that's limited. Come on board, get to know folks, feel things out, and see where you land naturally. And I think that's what's happened here. And that's why this moment in time is so successful. Tutu's in the right place. Momo's in the right place. Kelly's in the right place. I'm in the right place without a title, just chiming in when I need to, right? So feel it out some first, and then see what resonates and what speaks to you.
Yeah, and honestly, all are valuable, because at the end of the day, those discussions about what are we thinking about, and whether that's about restructuring or policy or budget, like all those voices really matter. The other thing I wanted to just add, I know we're close to that time now, is there's a lot of support there. Like Jazz during Giving Tuesday just sent out a whole bunch of material for as board members so that we can do our outreach ourselves, right? So it's, you don't have to recreate the engine. There are these things there in place so that you can support what is needed.
Thank you all. As Momo said, we are at time. Any board staff, any faculty, any last thoughts before we wrap this up?
No, I mean, I can hang out for a bit if folks have additional questions. And also, as Jazz said, I'm also reachable afterwards at any time. I'm just really, really excited to see people interested. If you yourself are interested, if you've got people in mind who you're going to tap on the shoulder and be like, you really need to be nominated, I'm going to nominate you. Just that this only works because people are engaged. So even if you don't nominate yourself, please vote. We have a minimum of voting in order for this to hold. So we can get into that another time. But anyway, yeah, we have to have a certain number of people to vote.